Hello, grammar students. Well, this week I'm going to start talking about the verb phrase, which corresponds to our third unit. Today I'm going to talk about some general characteristics of the verb and the verb phrase, and we will start dealing with the tense aspect system. You will find this information in Quirk's book and Celsa Murcia. You should check your syllabus to see the bibliography. Okay, there are some classification of verbs which you are already familiar with, such as the classification into main verbs and auxiliary verbs. That is something we have already discussed. You know that auxiliary verbs always appear together with a main verb. And if not, it is because it is a case of ellipsis, all right? So, within lexical verbs, we may think of a further classification into stative and dynamic verbs, which is a classification which is more related to semantics, all right, to the meaning of those verbs, whether they refer to states or to more dynamic notions. Here you have some examples. Why is this distinction important? Well, it proves important when we discuss, for example, the use of the progressive aspect. Stative verbs do not usually co-occur with the progressive aspect, whereas dynamic verbs tend to co-occur with the progressive aspect. What we're saying is the verb to be is not usually found in progressive tenses, okay? Now here, when we talk about auxiliaries, and you probably know that within auxiliaries, we have primary auxiliaries and modal auxiliaries. And in both cases, we say that they are operators because we use them in certain operations, okay? As the ones we have here. These are the operations where auxiliaries are involved. When do we use auxiliaries? Well, we use auxiliaries for negation. Not is inserted immediately after the auxiliary. I cannot swim, or I have not seen that, and I don't like coffee. They are also involved in interrogation. They invert for interrogation. When are you listening to me? Will you come? All right. They also carry nuclear stress for emphasis. When, for example, you say, I have finished, as opposed to the unmarked form, I have finished. But if I want to emphasize this fact, I would go for I have finished. Or when we say, I do like coffee, I will help you. So this is a particular stress for emphatic purposes. And you will also find the auxiliaries involved in operations related to ellipsis and substitution. Substitution, for example, when we answer questions, when I ask you, for example, do you like English? And you say, yes, I do. Do there substitutes for like English. Yes, I like English. And in certain cases, there are instances of ellipsis. Have you finished? Yes, I have. There is, you use it in the answers with the ellipsis of the main verb. As we said before, then, when we talk about auxiliaries, we have to bear in mind there are two kinds: primary auxiliaries and modal auxiliaries. Primary auxiliaries, here you have them. They are do, be, and have. Do is sometimes called the empty carrier. And how is it different from be and have? Well, because do cannot be seen in an affirmative sentence. So we use it when we need it, okay? We said, for example, for negation, in the affirmative, you say, I like English, you don't see do there. But you recover that for negation, I don't like English, for interrogation, okay? Do you like English? For emphasis, I do like English. And as we said before, for substitution. In the cases of be and have, they are present in the affirmative verb phrase. When do I use be? Well, of course, for progressive aspect and for passive voice. Progressive aspect means, or rather, is composed of the verb to be plus an ing form of the verb. For passive voice, I need the primary auxiliary be plus a past participle. Have is necessary for perfective aspect, which is composed of have plus past participle. Then we have modal auxiliaries. Here you have a list: can, could, may, might, shall, should, will, would, must. These modal auxiliaries convey notions such as possibility, advisability, obligation, necessity. And there are other auxiliaries which you will find different names, I don't know, marginal auxiliaries, semi-modals or phrasal modals. And these are auxiliaries that do not have all the properties of these core modal auxiliaries. And I have, for example, I can think of have to, or you can think of be able to. They are different in certain, with respect to certain morphological characteristics, for example. Let's talk now about the forms of the verb, okay? You may find different forms. The base form, which is the one that we find in the simple present for all persons except the third person singular. I play the piano. Okay, play is the base form of the verb. So when you find play, it could either be, as in my example, an example of the simple present. It could be an imperative. I can tell you, okay, play the piano. It could be an example of subjunctive mood. She demands that he play the guitar. Or it could be part of a bare or two infinitive clause. For example, say, all he does is play the guitar all day long. Then there is a form in English which is not very economical because it is only used for the present tense, third person singular, all right? That's the only use of a place. A past form, the second column, the past participle or third column, which is used, as we said before, for the perfective aspect together with have, in passive voice preceded by be, and of course in past participial clauses. For example, I think in our Facebook group, there was an example which was, I don't know, something. I don't remember whether they were watches, originally created for, I don't know which purpose. All right, that would be an example of a past participial clause as a post modifier of a noun. Jorge is going to talk about non-finite clauses this week. And the ing form of the verb, which appears in the progressive aspect, preceded by the verb to be, and of course in ing clauses, which you will see may correspond to gerundial clauses or present participial clauses. In terms of the number of forms each verb has, well, it depends. Regular verbs have only 4 forms. Think about that. Yes, of course, they have a base form, an S form, an ing form, and one form that corresponds both to past and past participle, okay? I have play, plays, playing, played. In the case of irregular verbs, you may find from 3 forms to 8 forms, which is the verb which has the highest number of forms. Let's say the most irregular, of course. Yes, verb to be. If you think of the verb to be, you have be, is, are, am, was, were, been, being. All right, 8 forms. So it is a very difficult verb. Okay, and we say that modal auxiliaries are defective, and I mentioned that they are different from the other verbs because they don't have all these forms. There is no infinitive, and I'm talking about core modal auxiliaries, all right? No ing, no past participle, no imperative, no concord, that is, there is no S form, and that makes them different from the other verbs. Okay, in the case of phrasal modals, such as be able to, they are in between because they do have, for example, an infinitive, all right? To be able to play the guitar, for example, we could say you should practice a lot. Okay, let's move on. As I said before, Jorge this week has been working on finite and non-finite subordinate clauses. What does this mean? Well, this means finite verb forms are tensed verb forms or conjugated verb forms. And if there is an independent clause, the verb phrase must be finite, conjugated, okay? They must be concord with the subject. In the case of non-finites, this verb phrase cannot be the verb phrase of an independent clause. And when we talk about a non-finite verb forms, we're talking about the infinitive, the gerund, the present participle, and the past participle. Be careful here because the infinitive is the base form. The past participle would be, let's say, the third column, but the gerund and the present participle correspond both to the ing form. You will see that the difference is not related to form, but to meaning or value. The gerund is a nominal verb form, whereas the present participle is adverbial or adjectival in value. All right? So, well, I will stop here and start a new video.